The 2024 robotics season has come to an end, which means it's time for our season recap. Before we start, I would like to thank all of our sponsors who have supported us throughout our journey. And without further ado, here is what happened this season. We started our season the same as every other, a huge party. We always like to celebrate the start of a new season by all coming together and watching the reveal of the season game. To briefly describe the season's game, our robot has to shoot notes into either the speaker or the amp to score points. Our team now had 8 weeks until our first competition. To start off our first week, we spent all of our time designing different ideas and figuring out what features we wanted to prioritize for our robot. We understood that shooting into the speaker was a lot easier than shooting into the amp, but with that being said, we decided to make a mechanism that could do both to be a versatile robot and have an extra challenge. Week 2 and 3 were spent prototyping ideas, and this is when we broke into subsystem teams. We had a team led by Ivan working on a way to pick up notes from the ground with an intake, a team led by Gabe working on a lifting mechanism for the end of the match, and finally a team led by Ken for scoring. The intake team started off by designing an indexer that would lift notes off the ground and into our robot. Climb team used a constant force spring to lift a hook, which was then lowered to lift the robot off the ground and score bonus points. The scoring team ended up coming up with an idea that would let the robot score in the amp and the speaker. They did this by sending the note into 2 fast spinning wheels, and by doing this, we'd be able to shoot it straight into the speaker. But if we slowed down those same wheels and turned on our front guide wheels, we were able to gently let the note fall into the amp. During this process, our coding team was working on swerve drive for our robot, which is where each wheel has 2 motors allowing you to spin or move the robot in any direction without stopping. Finally, Teresa led our chassis group, which was making the base for our robot. During week 4, we started building more detailed pieces and moving past the prototyping stage. The scoring group laser cut special pieces for the design that would allow them to use a pulley system to connect spinning components. Gabe's group continued his progress on its lifter and started working on a way to counterbalance the robot when it's floating. The intake group worked on working out the kinks in their design. And finally, chassis group continued to work and had made a functioning chassis, which would let us start to put the robot together. These 2 weeks were a lot of hard work. We took a lot of our subsystems and started to integrate them into our chassis. Intake group was able to put their design on the chassis first, followed by scoring team shortly after. Gabe continued working very hard on a separate chassis with his lifting mechanism, until finally during late week 6, he was ready to put it on to our main chassis. During the last 2 weeks, we worked hard to optimize our robot's performance and practice driving and scoring. We also started to pack up our stuff and get ready to hit the road for our Greater Pittsburgh Regional. During the Greater Pittsburgh Regional, our robot performed extremely well. We won 6 games, tied 1, and lost 2. During this event, we ran into many problems, but we were able to bounce back stronger each time. Our robot performed so well that we were drafted onto an alliance for the playoffs. We won our first game of the finals, but unfortunately we lost the next 2 games, completely eliminating us from the tournament. We went home with our heads up high, knowing that we got 5th place, and with more work and practice, we would be ready for our next competition, Buckeye Regionals. After competing in the Greater Pittsburgh Regional, we had found a few things that we needed to fix or improve. We worked hard to improve our drive controls and make our intake even better. It was time to compete in Buckeye Regional. We performed extremely well, despite a couple snags along the way, eventually placed 5th place and became a team captain. We partnered with Team 3504 Girls of Steel, Team 4467 Titanium Titans, but the competition was too tough, and we ended up losing both of our semifinal matches. Overall, we had a lot of fun and learned a lot during this event. One skill we improved on was identifying and fixing issues quickly in between matches. Now that our events were over, off-season had officially started. After our off-season had started, we took a well-deserved break and enjoyed having some time to ourselves. Even though we had lost our competitions, there was still a lot of work to do. The first thing we did once we got back to our build space was a big team debrief. During this, we talked about how we can improve our team and what we want to do with our team over the next few years. Then all of a sudden, it was time for IEEE Robotics Day. IEEE is an event hosted by a group of engineering students from Penn State. The goal of this event was to let kids design a line-following robot, or a sumo robot, and whoever's robot was the fastest or the best at that task had won a prize. Center County 4-H Robotics had hosted and mentored 11 groups of kids in total, and by the end of the event, these kids had learned so much. All of the teams that had won a prize were mentored by us, and in the end, all those kids all said that they had lots of fun and that they would definitely do the event next year again. It is now spring, and we are working hard to set up outreach events and find new ways to engage kids in not only our program, but STEM in general. We are also looking for new mentors to be able to support our kids in our program and more sponsors to help with our growth as well. If you would like to become a sponsor or mentor, please visit our website cc4hrobotics.org for more information. We will have more events and content coming up this summer, so please feel free to follow us on our social medias, which is CC4H on Instagram and Center County 4-H Robotics Team 4027 on YouTube. And finally, thank you so much to all of our sponsors for supporting us in everything that we do. We really appreciate you, and honestly, we would not be able to do all these amazing things without your help. Here's a shout out to all of our heavyweight sponsors. Please check them out and show them love. So thank you again to Channel Communications, WHVL, Penn State College of Engineering, Penn State Applied Research Laboratory, Diamondback Covers, and Center County 4-H. Thank you all so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you soon.